It's not a priority right now. 5 words, that's all Phil Garrett said. HR director, 20 years at this company. He didn't look up, didn't put down his pen. Just kept writing in that yellow legal pad of his while I stood on the other side of his desk explaining that I'd been working 58-hour weeks for 10 months and hadn't seen a single dollar of overtime pay. His pen kept moving, tiny circles, like I wasn't even in the room. I drove home that afternoon and sat in my truck in the driveway for a while. Just stared at the garage door. Thought about the mortgage payment coming up. Thought about the 10 months I'd already let go by. Then I went inside, opened my laptop, and got to work. My name is Dale Mercer. I'm 54 years old. I've worked as a shipping and receiving coordinator at Bridgelane Supply Co. in Akron, Ohio for 3 years. Before that, I did similar work at a couple of other places. Count the product, verify the manifest, flag anything that doesn't match. Not complicated, not glamorous, but honest work, and I was good at it. I notice things. That's the job. When a supplier ships 58 units and the manifest says 60, I catch it. When a Tuesday delivery shows up Wednesday, I document it. Details are everything in this line of work. Turns out that habit is what saved me. Before all this started, I was hourly. Clocked in at 6:30, clocked out when the job was done. Big shipments meant late nights, and late nights meant time and a half. I had a mortgage to pay on a house I'd owned for 11 years. The overtime helped. The system was simple and it worked. Then our manager retired. Carol Hensley had been running our department for years. Good woman. Knew every supplier. Knew which ones always shorted their shipments by 2 or 3% and hoped nobody would notice. I always noticed. Carol always noticed. That's why we got along. When Carol left, they brought in Sandra Croft, 34 years old. Sharp suits, hair pulled back tight. She'd worked at 3 other companies in the past 5 years and moved up each time. Management loved her because everywhere she went, her department's numbers looked great on paper. I didn't understand yet what that meant in practice. Sandra smiled constantly. Not the kind of smile that makes you feel welcome. The kind that never quite reaches the eyes. She'd walk through the warehouse every morning, remember everyone's name, ask how things were going. But her eyes were always doing something else. Measuring, calculating, looking for where she could trim. 6 months after she started, she called a department meeting. 10 of us gathered in the break room. She stood at the front with printed pages because we didn't have a projector in that building. I've been reviewing everyone's contributions, she said, still smiling. And I'm excited to announce some promotions. My name was on the list, senior shipping coordinator, salaried $50,000 a year. I went home that night and ran the numbers at my kitchen table. I'd been making $46,500 with regular overtime, and most weeks I was putting in 50 hours. The math wasn't hard. $50,000 sounded like a raise until you looked at the whole picture. More base pay, yes, but no overtime ever again. I went to Sandra's office the next morning. You're not paid by the hour anymore, she said, leaning forward slightly like she was sharing good news. You're paid for the value you bring. This is a step up, Dale. More responsibility, more autonomy. I asked what higher level responsibilities I'd be taking on. Strategic inventory management, decision-making authority. I organized shipments. I verified counts. I flagged discrepancies. That was the job. That was the whole job. Nothing about it was changing and we both knew it. I asked if I could stay hourly. Her smile tightened just a little. I'm offering you growth here. Don't you want to advance in your career? The way she said it made me feel like I'd asked something unreasonable. I had until Friday to decide. I took the promotion. The first month wasn't bad. 44 hours. The second month, 49. Then month 3, Sandra started sending Friday afternoon texts saying we needed everyone in Saturday morning for inventory counts ahead of big Monday shipments. 6 hours. No extra pay. You're salaried now, she said the first time I brought it up. This is part of the role. By month 4, I worked 58 hours in a single week. I was tired in a way that built up slow, the kind where you don't notice how bad it's gotten until you realize you haven't called your brother back in 3 weeks because you just don't have it in you after a long day. That's when I started keeping the notebook. Small brown thing, fit in my jacket pocket. Every night before I left the parking lot, I'd sit in my truck and write down the hours I'd worked, the tasks I'd done, and any conversation where Sandra had implied that weekend counts were mandatory or that asking questions about it might not be good for my position. I wrote down dates, exact times when I could remember them, her exact words when I could recall them. Some nights it was just a few lines. Other nights it was half a page. I kept it in the glove box, didn't tell anyone about it. A few weeks into keeping that notebook, I found out something that reframed everything. Someone in accounting mentioned it in the break room, quiet, almost offhand. Sandra had pulled a large bonus at the end of the fiscal year. Department costs had dropped by 34% under her management. People were talking about it like it was impressive, like she was some kind of operational genius. I went home that night and did the math. 9 of us had been reclassified from hourly to salaried, all of us working 50, 52, sometimes 58-hour weeks with no overtime. If you run the numbers on what that saves in labor costs over a full year, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars that simply stopped showing up on the payroll ledger. Money that didn't go to us, money that went straight to the bottom line and made Sandra look like she knew exactly what she was doing. She did know exactly what she was doing. That's when I understood this wasn't a promotion. It was a reclassification scheme, and I was pretty sure it wasn't legal. I spent several evenings at my kitchen table reading through the Fair Labor Standards Act, printed sections out, read them twice, made notes in the margins. To be legally classified as exempt from overtime, your primary duty has to involve genuine management, or you have to regularly exercise independent judgment on significant business matters. I didn't manage anyone. I didn't approve contracts or set pricing or make decisions that affected how the company operated. I counted product and verified numbers against a manifest, important work, but not exempt work, not even close. Then I found something else. I pulled up my employee profile in the internal HR system to check something about my benefits, and I noticed my job title was different from what was on my original offer letter. The new title had more words in it, sounded more strategic, more like the kind of role that might justify an exempt classification. Someone had changed it. And I had a pretty good idea who. I printed both versions, put them side by side in a folder I kept at home with the rest of my documentation. I scheduled a meeting with Phil Garrett. I was polite, kept it factual. I told him I thought there might be a classification issue, walked him through the FLSA guidelines I'd been reading, explained the duties test, and how my actual daily tasks didn't come close to meeting the standard for exemption. Phil wrote something in his notepad. Our legal team reviews all position classifications, he said. I'm sure everything's in order, but I'll look into it. 2 weeks passed. Nothing changed. I was still working the same hours, still getting the same salary, still watching Sandra's weekend count requests land in my inbox every Friday afternoon. I went back a second time. This time I brought the folder, printed FLSA pages with specific sections underlined in red pen. My actual task list written out by hand, day by day. Timesheets showing 50-plus hour weeks going back months, and the 2 job title documents side by side. Phil looked at the folder, looked at me. Our lawyers have reviewed the classifications, he said. You qualify for exemption. The role requires professional judgment. I verify counts against a manifest, I said. The computer system tells me where shipments need to go based on existing orders. I check that the numbers match. That's the job. That requires professional judgment, he said. It sounded like he was reading off a card, like someone had sat him down beforehand and told him exactly what to say if anyone came in asking these questions. I left his office and went back to work. About a week after that second meeting, I noticed the weekend scheduling had shifted. Before, the Saturday counts were spread across the team. Now I was getting pulled in more than anyone else 3 Saturdays in a row. Other guys on the team had 1, maybe 2. I had all 3. I wrote it down. Dates, times, who else was scheduled, who wasn't. I went back to Phil a 3rd time. I wasn't polite anymore. I was tired. My body hurt from the hours. My house was a mess because I was never home long enough to deal with it. I laid everything out on his desk. The hours, the title discrepancy, the Saturday pattern that started after my first complaint, the bonus structure, the math connecting Sandra's 34% cost savings directly to our unpaid labor. Phil set down his pen, looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read, tired, maybe, or just done with the conversation before it started. It's not a priority right now, he said. I stood there for a second, then I nodded, walked out, got in my truck, sat in the parking lot for a while, not doing anything, just letting it settle. I wasn't going to get anywhere through internal channels. I'd tried 3 times. I'd brought documentation, I'd been reasonable, I'd been patient, and every time the answer was some version of nothing. That night, I drove home, made a sandwich, sat down at the kitchen table, and opened my laptop. I went to the Ohio State Labor Board website. I'd looked at the complaint form before a few weeks back, but hadn't seriously considered filing. It felt like a big step, the kind of thing you can't take back once you do it. I thought about Phil's pen moving in those little circles while I talked. I started filling out the form. It was long and detailed. I didn't rush it. I listed every week I'd worked for the past 10 months, hours logged each day, totals at the end of each row. I attached the original offer letter and the screenshot showing the modified job title, side by side, no explanation needed. I wrote out my actual daily duties in plain language and explained exactly why they didn't meet the FLSA exemption standard. I listed all 9 coworkers who'd been reclassified the same way I had, same time frame, same pattern. And then I added one more section. I explained that Sandra's bonus was directly tied to department cost reduction, that her 34% savings figure wasn't the result of better processes or smarter logistics. It was the result of reclassifying hourly workers as salaried exempt and eliminating their overtime pay. She had a direct financial incentive to misclassify us, and the numbers made it obvious. I submitted the form at 1:47 in the morning. Then I closed the laptop and went to bed. Didn't sleep well. Just lay there in the dark thinking about whether I'd just fixed everything or torched my career. The mortgage was due in 9 days. I thought about that too. The next 4 days were the strangest of my working life. I showed up every morning at 6:30, clocked in, pulled my assignments, counted product, verified manifests, signed off on deliveries. Same as always, nobody knew anything. Sandra did her morning walkthrough, smiled at everyone, asked how things were going. Phil was in his office with the door open like usual. The warehouse moved at its normal pace, and underneath all of it, I was waiting. I didn't tell anyone I'd filed. Not the guys I talked to in the parking lot during breaks, not the coworkers who'd been reclassified the same way I had. I just went about my day and kept my mouth shut and wrote in the notebook every evening before I drove home. The labor board doesn't call ahead. I'd read that during my research. If they give a company advance notice, management has time to fix things. Reclassify people back to hourly for a few weeks, clean up the paperwork, coach the HR director on what to say. The whole point of showing up unannounced is to get an accurate picture of how things actually run. That's the only way the information means anything. So I waited, and on the 4th day, Thursday morning, I was at my station working through an incoming shipment of industrial fasteners when Sandra's assistant came running across the warehouse floor. Actually running. I'd never seen her run before. She was always composed, always moving at exactly the right pace. But that morning, her shoes were loud on the concrete, and her face was tight, and she was calling out before she even got close. "Where's Phil? The state is here. They're already in the building. They want payroll records for the whole department." I kept counting. 247 units, 248, 249. 2 people I hadn't seen before were moving through the building with briefcases and lanyards, escorted by someone from management toward the administrative wing. They had the kind of expressions that meant they weren't here to be friendly, and they'd done this enough times that nothing surprised them anymore. Management was moving fast, phones out, voices low. Someone I recognized from the operations side walked past me talking quickly, not looking at anything in particular. The normal rhythm of the building was gone, replaced by something tighter and quieter. I finished the count, verified the manifest, signed off on the delivery. About an hour later, footsteps came toward my station. I knew before I turned around. Phil was there, and another HR staffer I'd seen around but never spoken to directly. Both of them looked like they'd aged several years in the past 60 minutes. Phil's face had gone pale. He was standing differently than usual, shoulders up like he was bracing for something. "Why didn't you tell us you'd contacted the labor board?" His voice came out tighter than normal. "I did tell you," I said 3 times. "You said it wasn't a priority. You didn't say you were going to file a formal complaint with the state. Do you understand what kind of position this puts the company in?" "I understand what position you put me in," I said. "I worked 58-hour weeks for 10 months. I came to you with documentation 3 separate times, nothing changed. What was I supposed to do?" Neither of them answered that. The other HR staffer started to say something about cooperation and investigations, and I told them I'd already documented everything the investigators would need, and I was happy to cooperate fully. Then they walked away toward the administrative wing where I could only imagine the kind of questions being asked. I picked up my clipboard and moved to the next shipment, 312 units of commercial packaging materials. I counted every one. The investigation ran 6 weeks. Those 6 weeks had a different feel to them. The whole building was quieter. People talked in lower voices, moved more carefully. The easy back and forth that usually happened between stations slowed down. Nobody wanted to say the wrong thing to the wrong person, and nobody was sure who the wrong person was anymore. Sandra stopped doing her morning walks through the warehouse. For the first week, she was still coming in, but she stayed in her office with the door shut. I'd pass by sometimes on the way to the loading dock and see her through the window, sitting at her desk, staring at something I couldn't see. By week 3, she wasn't coming in at all. Someone said she was working remotely. Someone else said she'd been told to stay off-site while the investigation was active. Investigators came back to the building twice more after the initial visit. They pulled time records, email threads, internal memos going back 3 years. They interviewed people from our department and from 2 others. I heard they requested Sandra's full performance review history and all documentation related to her bonus structure. My interview with Helen Marsh lasted 45 minutes. She was around 50, short gray hair, calm in a way that felt very deliberate. The kind of calm that comes from having sat across from a lot of people who were trying to explain away things that didn't have a good explanation. She asked me to walk her through my daily responsibilities in detail. I did. She asked whether I had authority to hire, fire, or discipline anyone. No. Whether I set pricing or approved vendor contracts. No. Whether I could authorize a shipment change without a supervisor sign-off. No. Then I showed her the notebook. She went through it slowly, page by page. 10 months of daily entries, hours written in the margins, conversation notes, the dates of my 3 meetings with Phil. She didn't say much while she read, just turned the pages at her own pace. Then I showed her the 2 job title documents, the original offer letter, the screenshot from the internal HR system with the modified title, side by side in a clear plastic sleeve. She looked at those for a while. This title change, she said, when did you first notice it? I told her. She wrote it down. And you never signed anything authorizing a change to your job description? No, I hadn't. She wrote something else down, closed her folder, and looked up. Thank you. This has been very helpful. I went back to my station, counted the rest of the day's shipments, drove home, wrote in the notebook. It was during those 6 weeks that I heard about Cleveland. Word gets around in a building like ours. Someone in accounting heard it from Sandra's assistant, who apparently hadn't been told to keep quiet about it. Sandra was interviewing for a regional director position at a logistics company in Cleveland. Big step up, better title, better pay. And she'd been using her 34% department cost reduction as the centerpiece of her pitch, the number that looked so impressive on paper. The number built entirely on our unpaid hours. I didn't do anything with that information. I didn't make any calls, didn't send any emails, didn't mention it to the investigators. I didn't need to. Labor board findings are public record in Ohio. That's just how it works. When a company in Cleveland is doing due diligence on a senior hire, they check. Somebody checked. And when they pulled the report, they found exactly what 34% cost reduction actually meant and how it was achieved. Public records move fast when someone's motivated to look. The all-hands meeting came 2 days after the investigation closed. We gathered in the break room at 2 in the afternoon. All 9 of us who'd been reclassified, plus people from 2 other departments I recognized but didn't know by name. Management was there, Phil was there, standing off to one side, not making eye contact with anyone. Someone from the legal team stood at the front wearing an expression that looked like physical discomfort. She got right to it. The State Labor Board had completed their investigation into classification practices at Bridgelane Supply Co. They had determined that certain positions were incorrectly classified as exempt from overtime requirements under the Fair Labor Standards Act. This affected employees across multiple departments. The company was required to pay back wages covering the full period of misclassification. Corrective reclassification would be implemented immediately. She sat down. Phil stood up and said the company took compliance seriously and that we'd each receive individual letters with our back pay calculations. He said it the way people say things they've been told to say. Nobody asked questions. Nobody said anything. We all just sat there for a moment, letting it land. Back pay, they had to give back what they'd taken. I went to my station and tried to focus on the afternoon count, but my hands weren't cooperating. I gave it a few minutes and they settled down. The letter showed up on my workstation 2 days later. Plain envelope. I opened it standing right there. 16,200 tynered. 10 months. That's what those 10 months of unpaid overtime added up to. I stood there and read the number twice. Then I folded the letter, put it in my jacket pocket, and finished the shift. The total across all 9 of us came to $287,000. Some guys had been reclassified longer than I had. Some worked heavier hours. The amounts varied, but everyone got a letter. What happened to Sandra took a few more days to filter through. She was terminated the following Friday. By Monday, word had gotten back through the building that the Cleveland offer had been pulled. Someone in accounting heard it from her assistant. The logistics company had done their background check, found the labor board report, and decided they didn't want to bring in someone whose signature achievement turned out to be built on wage theft. The offer was gone before she'd even had time to negotiate the start date. Friday, she lost the job she had. Monday, she lost the job she thought she was getting. I heard all of it secondhand standing in the parking lot during a break. I nodded and went back inside. The bonus clawback came out a few days after that. 3 years of performance bonuses, $98,000 total. The company's legal team had determined that those bonuses were tied directly to cost reductions achieved through illegal labor practices. They wanted the money back. Sandra had already spent most of it, down payment on a house, a car, the kind of expenses you take on when you believe a certain income level is permanent. Now there were lawyers involved, payment plans, arrangements that were going to take years to work through. She'd built her financial life around money that came from our unpaid hours. Now she had to dismantle it. Phil Garrett put in a transfer request to a facility in another state a few weeks later. Nobody seemed surprised. Nobody asked him to reconsider. Brenda Okafor came in to run the department. Late 40s, calm, straightforward. Her first day she called us into the break room and kept it short. Effective immediately. Everyone previously classified as exempt was being moved back to hourly. We'd track our time. Every hour worked would be paid. Overtime at the correct rate. We could keep our senior titles if we wanted them. Titles are fine, she said. But titles don't pay a mortgage. She was done in under 5 minutes. That was it. Sandra's office sat empty for a while after that. A few weeks in, someone brought in a shelving unit, then boxes of printer paper, extra keyboards, a couple of monitors still in the packaging. Last time I walked past, it was just storage. No nameplate on the door, no chair behind the desk, just equipment that hadn't found a permanent home yet, filling up the space where someone used to sit and calculate how much she could save by not paying us what we'd earned. I deposited the $16,200 check the same week it arrived, stood at the bank counter, watched the teller process it, watched the number appear on the screen. Money I'd already earned, money that should have been in that account 10 months ago. That afternoon I came back to work. New shipment had come in while I was at the bank, roofing hardware, 340 units. I counted every one, verified the manifest, signed off, same job, same warehouse, same Akron weather outside. The only thing different was that when I clocked 50 hours that week, I got paid for 50 hours. People ask me sometimes if I was scared to file that complaint, whether I worried about retaliation or losing my job. Yeah, I was. I sat in my truck in that driveway for a reason, but I was also tired. Tired of working 58-hour weeks and being paid for 40. Tired of walking into Phil's office with a folder full of documentation and walking out with nothing. Tired of watching someone collect a bonus that was funded by time I'd never get back. I'm not a guy who makes noise, never have been. I fix things quietly. I track details, I make sure the numbers add up. If you've been where I was, if you've sat across from someone in HR and watched them decide that your time and your money aren't worth their afternoon, I want you to hear this. You have options that don't require you to raise your voice, or make a scene, or do anything you can't defend later. Read the law, document everything. Know which door to knock on when the internal ones stop opening. Sometimes the only way to make something a priority is to take it completely out of their hands. That's what I did, and I'd do it again without hesitating. If this story hit close to home, hit the like button and subscribe, drop a comment below. Tell me about a time you had to go to the mat for something that was already yours. I read every one.